Hello! Welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie from dachaliving.com. Today I'm going to share with you the products that I use to have a fully environmentally healthy, exciting, sustainable period cycle. I'm referring to the products that I will use when I am on my period. So this is the time of the month at the very end where we shed blood out of our vaginas, shedding the uterine lining. One thing I really noticed about the way my grandparents lived in their country house in Russia was everything was used full cycle. Our food scraps were used for compost, and the compost was used for the soil, and the soil created an abundance of plants that we would eat and begin the cycle. I remember all we had for trash was a small juice box that was about this big, and that would get filled about once a week. So we really weren't utilizing a lot of resources that weren't fully compostable or fully recyclable. We didn't even think about reducing the plastic and waste that we were consuming, because the things that we bought already came in their whole form. And whatever we did have, we reused, because a lot of these materials were not so available. And of course, there wasn't a whole lot to recycle besides the stuff right back into the earth and beginning the cycle again. So about 10 years ago, my sister bought me a moon cup because she was really into environmentalism and I was just ignorant at that time. But I'm glad she did, because I have probably saved hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars in tampons and pads since then. So if you think about how our landfills are doing, a good chunk of it is just stuff that you're using once, like ketchup packets, plastic utensils, plastic straws, plastic cups, and tampon applicators, and those little plastic strips that come off the pads, those are included in there as well. Our ancestors were not using it. They were using cloth, and we actually have so much more available today that is not as messy. So I'm going to share with you the main two products I'm going to use, or that I use for my periods, how I make it a full cycle process, how you can save money, save your body with using natural organic products and sustainable products, and of course save the environment. I'm going to start off with the moon cup because that's the first thing that I was aware existed in terms of a sustainable feminine hygiene product. So this is called the moon cup. A lot of people have found like Diva cups or Luna cups, and they have found it to work for them as well. I've tried Luna cups. They're a little bit more flimsy in my experience, which can be more comfortable for some women, but I found the moon cup to be like a much thicker silicone, so it has a more strong seal, I guess I should say, so there's less leaking. So this is a moon cup. It's made out of It is made of silicone, which has got a very similar chemical structure to rubber. It's not biodegradable, but it's much more environmentally friendly than plastic, which has a lot of compounds in it that are not so friendly to the ocean or to our health necessarily either. So silicone's like an inert compound that is much more sustainable, and also it can be recycled really easily. So you take it, you fold it in half again, and so it kind of looks like this little, I don't know, uterus. And then you put it in, and when it comes inside, it goes pop. And I sometimes use my finger and trace around the moon cup just to make sure that there's a seal. Typically, the moon cup starts out being about a little under an inch long. So you may need to cut it depending on the length of your vaginal canal so that it doesn't poke you when you're sitting down. I had to figure that out the uncomfortable way. And then you just empty it into the toilet whenever it's full, every 8 hours or so, depending on the heaviness of your flow, just like a normal tampon. It can be a little bit messy. If you don't mind just using toilet paper to wipe your hands and then wash your hands in a regular sink, I haven't had any problem with it. It's a little bit of extra work, but it's a small price to pay for never having to buy tampon applicators and tampons again and have to create a bunch of waste. It's a win-win. The second thing, and I recently discovered this in my attempts to go plastic free, which I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it, is pads. So these are reusable pads, but you can find them on Amazon. I can provide you the link that I use, but honestly, if you just Google reusable pads, you can find that as well. I've definitely heard of women finding menstrual underwear. It's not something I've tried, but I've heard wonderful reviews about it, so I would imagine it would work in much the same way. Essentially, these pads, they have a clip in the back that goes around your underwear just like a regular pad. It's just it doesn't have that sticky background. So one of the drawbacks is that it slides up and down a little bit, but again, it's a small price to pay to not use plastic, and you'll save hundreds of dollars. Now, I actually alternate between using the Moon Cup and the pad. The main reason is because I find the pads to be more comfortable. If I'm having particularly intense menstrual cramps, I don't want to shove a Moon Cup in there. I want things to flow. So I use pads in those days. However, sometimes I don't want to wear a freaking diaper to a social engagement, or if I'm teaching yoga that day and I don't want something bulky showing from my yoga pants, then I'll use a Moon Cup. But for me, the pads are so much more comfortable. One fun thing that I do with before I wash these is I actually soak my used pads in water. And so I create like this blood water, and then I water my plants with them because they have lots of awesome stuff like nitrogen and phosphorus, and it's really beneficial for your plants. I choose not to use the period blood for the Moon Cup because, let's face it, sometimes I'm in a public place and I don't want to carry my blood around in my purse, so I just dump it in the toilet. But this is a very simple way. At the end of the day, I take the pads out, I put them in a silicone bag. At the end of the period cycle, I soak them all, pour the water into my plants, and then I throw the pads in the wash. And they will not stain your other clothes. As for cleaning the Moon Cup, it's really simple. Plain old soap and water will do. I usually just use soap and water between, I want to say uses, like after I've filled up the cup and I've dumped it out. I will usually rinse it with water if I don't have time to wash it with soap and water and reapply it. But at the end of the cycle, honestly, I just give it a really good wash with soap and water. Some people like to boil it. It's really up to you. I've never had a problem. The only time I've ever had a problem with a Moon Cup, and this was with my first one, this is my second one, was I had a yeast infection and I couldn't figure out what was causing it to keep coming back. And I would have a period, I would get the yeast infection, I would go on antibiotics, the yeast infection would go away, and then I would start the period again and it would come back. And I finally figured out that it was actually the Moon Cup that had traces of yeast on it. And unfortunately, boiling it will not remove yeast in that way. So you just need to get a new one. And for, they're about 30 bucks or so generally. Some of the other types of similar products are going to be cheaper, but I like investing in it, and this one I've probably used for 3 years. The one before that was 7. So it's about 10 years total. I'm 26. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions about the products that I use, or you want to pitch in with products that you've used, absolutely welcome. I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe if you like this content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.